How have gender, race, class, and other identity categories you can think of intersected during the pandemic to produce effects of discrimination or privilege? Well, in many ways, I tackled the relationship between race and class in my answer to a question in the previous chapter, so I don't really have that much to add to that, except pointing out once again that race and class very often go very much hand in hand. But class position alone already caused privilege and discrimination. So I was in a very privileged situation during the pandemic because I could work from home. I could also go to my office where nobody would be present. I would be sitting alone in my office for hours working there. And I spent most of the pandemic with my wife and our 2 sons in a big house with a big garden. So when we had to quarantine because we had finally contracted COVID in the spring of 2022, we would just be sitting in the garden the whole day, playing games there, reading, doing other stuff. So we had lots of space at our disposal. I cannot imagine what it must have been like to live through the pandemic with small children crammed into a 2-bedroom apartment with no space to move, with no fresh air to get at times when you weren't allowed to get out. So people who were economically less privileged were really much worse off during the pandemic. And then, of course, there's a gender dimension to all of this, because schools and kindergartens were closed for a very, very long time, and those who usually took care of the children, who supervised their homework, who made sure that they joined their video conferences, who kept the children entertained and busy at home, were in many cases women. And therefore sociologists have argued that the pandemic really did a lot of harm to the position of women in Western societies, because they were pushed back into these traditional roles of housewives and mothers.